Today, we are uncovering 15 weird facts about While You Were Sleeping that you didn't know. From a film that made $182 million and that nobody, not the studio, not the cast, not even the director, saw coming. To a cast and crew who were so genuinely cold filming in a Chicago winter that the discomfort you see on screen is completely real. And we will uncover way more weird facts, but we will start with number 15. The script was called Coma Guy, and the genders were flipped because a man doing this was too creepy. The original screenplay for While You Were Sleeping was a story about a man who falls in love with an unconscious woman, a comatose stranger he becomes obsessed with from afar, whose family then mistakes him for her partner. The writers Daniel G. Sullivan and Frederick LeBeau took it to Meg Ryan's production company, where the development person's response was direct. Why would Meg Ryan want to do this movie? She's unconscious the whole time. So we decided to flip it. The reason the flip worked is the reason the film works at all, and Sullivan has been blunt about it. When a guy is sitting next to a brain-dead woman, it's very predatory. But when you put a woman next to a guy, it's sweet. The exact same premise produces two completely different audience reactions, depending on which character is in the coma. The script was nicknamed Coma Guy internally. Sullivan and LeBeau were known around Los Angeles as the Coma Guys for over a year. And LeBeau has said the original idea was loosely inspired by a joke he made about his own love life at the time. Every warm, charming moment in the finished film exists because someone noticed that one gender swap changes the tone of the whole story. Number 14. The film was never meant to be set in Chicago, and it was never meant to be a Christmas movie. The original screenplay was set in New York City. When Caravan Pictures acquired the script and began moving toward production, the setting was changed to Chicago, specifically for budget reasons. Filming in Chicago in 1994 was cheaper than filming in New York, and the city offered the kind of dense, working-class urban landscape the story required without the New York price tag. The Christmas setting was similarly not part of the original creative vision. Disney, which distributed the film through its Hollywood Pictures division, pushed for a Christmas backdrop, on the grounds that it would be significantly easier to market a romantic comedy set during the holidays than a story set in an unspecified time of year. The result? A film drenched in Chicago winter atmosphere, snow, Christmas lights, and the specific warmth of a family gathering around the holiday table was almost entirely a commercial calculation rather than a creative one. The two most defining visual and emotional qualities of the finished film were both imposed from outside. Number 13. The role was written for Demi Moore, then turned down by 3 other major stars before Bullock. Lucy Moderates was written with Demi Moore in mind. Moore passed. The script then went to Julia Roberts, who was coming off the enormous success of Pretty Woman and was seen as a natural fit for a charming romantic comedy. She turned it down. Meg Ryan was one of the first to be approached, but declined, reportedly because in an earlier version of the script, Lucy was still the character who falls into a coma, which meant the lead actress would have spent most of the film unconscious. Nicole Kidman also came in and auditioned. Sandra Bullock took the role, having just broken up from a 4-year relationship, and has said she connected immediately to Lucy's specific quality of loneliness, the woman who watches life from behind a toll booth window and imagines another one. She became the first cast member to formally join the production. The film that established her as America's sweetheart was a role that 3 considerably more established actresses had already decided was not for them. Number 12. Harrison Ford, Matthew McConaughey, and Patrick Swayze all turned down the role of Jack. Before Bill Pullman was cast as Jack Callahan, the quietly charming, slightly skeptical brother who sees through Lucy's lie almost immediately, but can't bring himself to expose it. The role had been considered for or offered to Harrison Ford, Matthew McConaughey, and Patrick Swayze. Each of them, for different reasons and at different stages, did not take it. Pullman's casting was not the obvious choice at the time. He was known primarily as the likable, slightly overlooked second lead, the man who loses Meg Ryan to Tom Hanks in Sleepless in Seattle. The role of Jack gave him the chance to be the one who gets the girl, in a film that happened to gross $182 million and became one of the most watched romantic comedies of the decade. The man who spent Sleepless in Seattle losing was cast in While You Were Sleeping, after 3 considerably more prominent actors decided not to show up. Number 11. Bill Pullman tried to quit after the table read was so bad, the room went completely silent. A few weeks before principal photography was due to begin, the production held a table read in Chicago with the full cast. By that point, the script had gone through multiple rounds of revision. New writers had been brought in, and the material had been substantially reworked from what the original writers had delivered. The result, according to producer Jonathan Glickman, was a cut-and-paste disaster. The table read produced no laughs, no energy, and no confidence. Glickman described it as one of the worst table reads of all time. Pullman wanted to leave the project immediately. His agent refused to allow it. He had already walked off his most recent film, and a second consecutive walkout was not going to be permitted. The production's response was to call the original writers, Sullivan and Lebo, back in to overhaul the script from scratch before cameras rolled. They returned, rewrote it, and the film that resulted earned Bullock a Golden Globe nomination and grossed 10 times its production budget. The chemistry between Pullman and Bullock that critics praised as effortless was built on a foundation of a table read so bad that one of the leads had tried to leave the production. Number 10. The film was originally rated R by the MPAA, and the producers appealed and got it changed to PG. When While You Were Sleeping was submitted to the Motion Picture Association of America for a rating, it received an R. The reason was language. Specific words in the dialogue crossed the threshold that separated PG-13 from R under the MPAA's guidelines at the time. The producers appealed the decision. The appeal was successful. The film was re-rated PG, a rating that, in 1995, made it substantially more accessible to the family audience that would become its core demographic. A film that became one of the warmest, most broadly watchable romantic comedies of the decade, the kind of film families watch together at Christmas, began its journey through the ratings board as an R-rated movie. The appeal changed that. Most people who have watched it a dozen times have no idea. Number 9. The CTA shut down a real Chicago train station for 2 consecutive weekends, and that station no longer exists. The elevated train station where Lucy works, the Randolph-Wabash stop on the Chicago L, was a real, functioning station. The Chicago Transit Authority shut it down on 2 consecutive weekends, specifically to allow the production to film there without passengers moving through the frame. During those weekends, the station was entirely at the disposal of the film crew. The Randolph-Wabash station no longer exists. It was permanently closed in 2017 and replaced by the newly constructed Washington-Wabash station nearby. The booth where Lucy hands out tokens, the platform where Peter falls onto the tracks, the elevated structure that frames the film's most important location, none of it is there anymore. Anyone who watched the film and wanted to visit the exact spot where the story begins would find, in its place, a different station with a different name. The filming location was demolished a decade after the film came out. Number 8. Bullock filmed Speed and While You Were Sleeping back-to-back in the same year. Speed was released in June 1994. While You Were Sleeping began filming on October 8, 1994. Sandra Bullock moved from one production to the other in the same calendar year, from a high-concept action thriller in which she drives a runaway bus to a quiet romantic comedy in which she works in a train station toll booth. The tonal distance between the 2 films is considerable, but the gap between them in terms of her working schedule was a matter of months. The back-to-back productions meant Bullock arrived on While You Were Sleeping with Speed's momentum already behind her. The film had been a significant commercial hit, and the studio was banking on her being able to carry a very different kind of film on the strength of that performance. She could. The combination of Speed in the summer and While You Were Sleeping the following April established a pattern that defined the next decade of her career. A bankable lead who could move between action and comedy without losing the audience either way. Number 7. Peter Gallagher described this as his easiest job ever. He spent most of the film lying down. Peter Gallagher plays Peter Callahan, the man in the coma, the man whose family Lucy deceives, the man around whom the entire romantic complication is built. It is, structurally, one of the more unusual leading roles in romantic comedy history. The character whose name is in the premise is absent from the action for most of the film. Gallagher has described the experience as his easiest job ever, for the straightforward reason that the role required him to lie in a hospital bed, appear convincingly unconscious, and occasionally deliver lines in the later part of the film when Peter wakes up. The person at the center of the film's central lie was also the one person on the set who spent a significant portion of every shooting day lying down. He was paid a standard leading man's fee for a film in which his primary technical requirement was keeping his eyes closed. Number 6. The Paperboy. Falling off his bike and breaking his wrist was a genuine accident, and Turteltaub kept it. In a transitional scene set the morning after Lucy first spends the night at the Callahan house, a paperboy is shown attempting to throw newspapers from his bike. The boy falls off. He breaks his wrist. Neither of these things was in the script. The actor was supposed to successfully complete 3 paper throws before Lucy wakes up inside. He fell off the bike and injured himself before the 3rd throw was completed. Director John Turteltaub reviewed the footage, found the accident funny in a way that served the film's overall tone, slightly chaotic, warm, real, and kept it in. The wrist-breaking paper throw is visible in the finished film because a director looked at footage of a child injuring himself and thought, that works. If you like the video so far, please like and subscribe. It helps us more than you know. Number 5. The Callahan family house was a real home in Illinois, and fans made the real estate listing go viral when it sold. The Callahan family home, the warm, full, slightly chaotic house where Lucy spends Christmas and slowly becomes part of a family she was never supposed to be in, is a real property located in LaGrange, Illinois, a suburb about 15 miles southwest of Chicago. It was used as a practical filming location throughout the production and appeared extensively in the finished film. In 2018, the house was put on the market. The real estate listing went viral among fans of the film, specifically because it included interior photographs showing the actual rooms where the Christmas scenes were filmed. For a brief window, anyone with the right budget could have bought the house where Lucy Moderatz lied to an entire family and accidentally fell in love. The listing generated considerable attention from people who had watched the film enough times to recognize the rooms from photographs. It sold. Number 4. Bullock said this was the most fun she had ever had on any film. The cast went salsa dancing every night. Sandra Bullock has, in multiple interviews across the 30 years since While You Were Sleeping was released, described it as the most fun she had ever had on a film. Her specific account of the production involves a cast and crew who spent every evening after filming finished finding a local salsa dancing venue or restaurant in Chicago and going together. The warmth that the Callahan family exudes on screen, the specific quality of comfort and belonging that makes Lucy's deception feel understandable rather than malicious, was apparently not primarily the product of acting technique. The ensemble cast genuinely liked each other, spent their off hours together, and were having a better time making the film than most productions allow. Bullock's account of it is consistent enough across decades of interviews that it appears to simply be true. The film about a lonely woman finding a family was made by a group of people who were not lonely and had found one. Number 3. Turteltaub said he was consciously chasing the Mount Rushmore of romantic comedy and named all 4 of them. Director John Turteltaub has been candid about what he was trying to do with While You Were Sleeping and where he placed it in relation to the romantic comedies that had defined the early 1990s. In an oral history of the film published by the Washington Post, he said, "I so wanted to be part of the cool group of kids who made excellent romantic comedies." He then named the group he was trying to join: Rob Reiner, Tom Hanks, Nora Ephron, and Meg Ryan, whom he described as the Mount Rushmore of romantic comedy at that time. The specific films he was positioning himself against were When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and Pretty Woman, the trilogy of romantic comedies that had set the commercial and critical standard for the genre in the preceding 5 years. While You Were Sleeping, made for $17 million and set in a Chicago train station, grossed $182 million and earned its lead actress a Golden Globe nomination. Turteltaub got into the group. Number 2. The film made $182 million on a $17 million budget, and nobody in the industry saw it coming. While You Were Sleeping was not a film anyone expected to become one of the highest-grossing romantic comedies of 1995. It had no major star attached when it was greenlit, a script that had been through multiple troubled rewrites, a director best known for Cool Runnings, and a lead actress who had broken through in an action film rather than a romance. Disney's Hollywood Pictures acquired it and made it for $17 million. It grossed $182 million worldwide. That is a return of more than 10 times the production budget, a figure that, for a mid-budget romantic comedy with no special effects, no franchise attachment, and a premise about a woman lying to a comatose man's family, represents one of the more impressive commercial outcomes of the decade. It is the film that converted Sandra Bullock from an action star into a leading lady the entire world wanted to watch, in any genre, doing anything. The industry did not predict it. The audience decided for themselves. Number 1. The entire film was shot in actual Chicago winter, and the cast were genuinely cold in every outdoor scene. Principal photography on While You Were Sleeping ran from October 8th to December 14th, 1994. Every outdoor scene in the film was shot in real Chicago winter conditions, not a controlled backlot winter approximation, not fake snow, not temperature-controlled stages dressed to look cold. Actual Chicago in late autumn and early December, with the temperature, wind, and gray light that involves. The breath you can see from the actors in outdoor scenes is real. The way everyone pulls their coats tighter is real. The specific quality of physical discomfort that reads as character authenticity. Lucy hunched in her toll booth, Jack walking with his hands buried in his pockets, is the product of actors being genuinely cold in a city that is genuinely cold, filming a story set in winter during an actual winter. The film's emotional warmth is partly so effective because the physical cold surrounding it is completely real. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe and comment what you want to see next.